All right. Well, gosh darn it. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Doppler'S Gear Garage. So great to see everybody on this Saturday morning. You know what time it is? It's time to, hang on a second, wait for it. Raise them up, gosh darn it. Let me know what it is that you're drinking this morning, where it is that you're tuning from. And just in case we haven't met, my name is Doug Doppler, and this is Doppler'S Gear Garage. And in the next hour, we're going to be talking about the A Phrygian mode. We're going to be talking about how to kind of set up an easy way to create the sound of this mode. Last week, we talked about the A Dorian mode. This week, I figured rather than moving up to B Phrygian, which would be kind of the relative mode of A Dorian, I would actually play that same tonal center, A, but use a Phrygian mode there, so we can kind of get used to kind of going, what happens when we use a common tonal center and play different modes there? In any case, I am drinking my little Optavia shake here with 2 shots of Pete's Espresso. What are you drinking, and where are you tuning in from this morning? First of all, Brett, hello, great to see you. Melissa, hello. Brenton, there we go, great to see you, my friend. What time of day is it? Chris Alexander, hello. Paul Richard, good morning. Brandon Wilson, hello, drinking black coffee and setting up my buddy's telly this morning. Glad to be here. Glad to have you here as well. BC in Canada, right on. What a lovely, lovely place. Lovely, lovely. Exactly. Hello, Venice, California. Not coffee. All right. That's right. You're going cold turkey. Proud of you there. Mike Rand, hello, Colorado. Sweet home Colorado, right? All right. Well, there we go. Late midnight in Western Australia. I love that. Latte, excuse me. A turmeric latte. Wait a second. Brenton, that's a new one for me. I've never heard of a turmeric latte. All right. So in any case, as we kind of define what we're going to do in the next hour, gosh darn it, I got some really good feedback last week about kind of like, staying focused on one primary thing is a great way to make this a better experience for people. So I'm going to kind of augment that with one primary thing with a little thing tacked on the back end. My buddy Chris Alexander, who is here this morning, texted me on Fridays. He's so great about this. He's always got these great questions. And a number of people showed up on my... Jamie Lamb, hello. 11-ish in Kentucky, black coffee. Come on. How about some... Black Coffee Blues. Black Coffee Blues, I love it. JKM Guitar John, Killer Mellow. The caffeine must be kicking in. All right. Well, first of all, friends, thank you so much for hanging out. All right. In the very back end of this show, as we talk about, gosh darn it, where I need to get this a little bit more there. Where are you hiding? Gosh darn it. There we go. In Rigs Are Us, we are going to be talking about getting modelers working in a live situation. Back there, you see a couple of things. First of all, you see 2 Celestion full-range live response speakers. Celestion put those speakers out specifically so you could take a traditional guitar enclosure, which behaves very different than a monitor that's kind of facing back at you in terms of the way it projects sound and the way the guitar hears it. And basically they're like, hey, retrofit it with these speakers. And they are great. I love them. Hey, Sean, I see you in there. Griffin, hello, hello, hello. I'll get to both of you guys in just a moment with a proper salutation. So the deal is, inside that Boogie Thiel cabinet is one of those two. Actually, it's the triple cone. I know what that is. And then that that Marshall cabinet down below there is currently empty. But I swapped speakers from that cabinet to another Marshall cabinet that had a quad of the Celestion full range live response speakers in an X pattern. And so we're going to spend some time talking about how you take something like an FM9, if you're using it not just for your effects, but also for your modeling, how you go about getting some stage volume, how you go about dealing with rehearsal, because most of us who use those types of devices are creating our sounds on, I'm pointing at near field monitors, just imagine that we are. But all of a sudden you're on stage and like, are you using a fallback monitor? You're now dependent on some person there or there for your volume and your tone, and it gets tricky and dicey pretty quickly. And then, you're potentially also going to be using something like this, which is great. But, the guitar, one of the great things if you think about Jimi Hendrix, classically Humping for our G-rated part of the audience here. His amp, part of that guitar, hearing the speakers and all that fun stuff, that's an integral part of what we do. So, in any case, I'm looking forward to that. There we go. Hang on a second. All right, let me get caught up here. John, again, always a pleasure. Griffin, hello, hello. New Orleans, I love it. Come on, bring it up. A little voodoo and flash flooding thrown in. There you go. Come on. All right, Sean Varley, good morning. Can't stay long. They're heading out to play. Awesome. Have a great one. I'll look at, right, Jamie and Sean, you guys are buddies. Look at this. I love this. GT1000 core into the UA Max 1170 straight into the PA. Finally sounded like an amp. So, there are a number of different things that we can do to kind of find some ways to make it sound. And the funny thing is we were trying to make these modular devices sound like an amp. Lots of things. Stanlin, what's going on? Great to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Eric Martin Bureau. Gosh darn it, so many great people. Hello, hello. Miguel, buenos dias, amigo. ¿Cómo está el monte, California? Sueño. Seño. My Spanish is going right down the tubes. Line 6 Helix into a pair of Line 6 power cabs. Pluses. I didn't get a chance to bring those downstairs. But again, Zach, this is, Line 6 has created a really great round trip, and they're great. Michael Mitchell, hello, hello, hello. All right, excellent. So first of all, before we jump into all of that, let's get talking about this progression. And I'm going to pull up this little diagram here for a quick second. And as you take a look at each of those second finger root modes, hey Brad, what's going on, my man? Great to see you. Hello, hello, hello. You can see that those mode shapes, and why I like them so much, and any of my students have heard me yapping on about this, is the chord shapes are hiding in there. And this is the thing. It's just like last week and the week before, I asked my students, hey, create a Dorian progression. And a couple of folks were like, So the easiest way is to take these modes and take the first, third, and fifth, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and play those same notes up an octave, and you've got these chords. And as you look at the relationship between those chords, take my word for it, as you move between what's called the 1, 2, and 3 chords, the 2 and 3 chords, that's the only spot you got 2 minor chords a whole step apart. 3 and 4, the only spot where you got a minor chord with a major chord a half step above it. And the 4 and the 5, 2 major chords a whole step apart. So the deal is you can easily set up the Dorian by just kind of going. All right, so I saw that there's a comment, Melissa, the gatekeeper here, had said Stanlin asked about alternate picking. So I will blend some alternate picking stuff into this most definitely. Thanks for that question. So last week we did this Dorian progression. This week what we're going to do is we're going to take basically, initially I was going to move up to B Phrygian, because that way we're kind of staying diatonic to the same parent major scale, which is the key of G, whose notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. The A Dorian mode would just be going A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. The B Phrygian would be going B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. But I thought, you know what? Let me just take the same root and let me then take A and just show how easily we can take the same root, and instead of using the 2 and the 3 chords there to create A Dorian, we can use the 3 and the 4 chords to create A Phrygian. And I think what I did, the idea is, how do you make it so it doesn't sound like yawn, 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 and make it sound like something you're going to be hopefully inspired to do. So you want to just add a little bit of so I just changed the second chord, and so there's just a little bit more ambience to it. So here's the track, and this, by the way, will be available for download. I did a little bit of, there it is. And I just let that second one kind of sit out there. So in any case, I'm outlining a 3 chord and a 4 chord. And in so doing, it can only be this one set of 7 notes. And I'm hearing, as I play these two chords together, this chord right there being the tonal center. If that's the case, that's 3 chord, 4 chord. The mode that start off the 3rd note of the major scale is the Phrygian mode. So the neat thing about the Phrygian mode, and it's an interesting thing, there are, first of all, I cannot thank you guys enough. One of the things that I'm in prep mode for doing is doing a bunch of YouTube videos to kind of serve this community and the guitar community at large, and talking about how to elicit the sound of modes, how to make things not sound like we're running scales, and just kind of having different ideas about how to approach things. And the other thing is taking some of the practical experience of, I've been sitting in with people lately, so kind of what are some of the things that I do to map the neck, right? Because, that Foxy Lady bit. F sharp Dorian. That is relative to E major, but the F sharp, that's the money note, just in the same way. That A note is what we want to be paying attention to. Although this is relative to the key of F major, A is the tonal center. So we really want to be thinking about this as A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Stanley, to your point, if we were to take this A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, and add another B flat and C on the top, and this goes to anybody else out there that's got one of these in their hand, or may I extend an invitation to do so. I'm sorry, hold on. I got a message from Melissa Doppler. Someone mentioned the weird, gosh darn it, hang on a second. All right, thank you. Hold on just 1 second here. So, you go bye-bye. There we go. I live in an area in California that from time to time, if I'm going to be totally honest, we have rodents that come from the outside and try and get into my ceiling here. So I went on to Amazon. My best purchase of the year was on Amazon. Gosh darn it, where are my, there we go. And I got a 6-pack of these, and I put these up on the ceiling. I got to tell you, that little guy that wanted to hang out in my studio, he's toast. But if I forget to turn that off, I'm just used to the sound. And people are like, what in the world is that sound? Thanks for that, Melissa. All right, getting back to our previously scheduled program. By the way, if you have a place where you're like, dang, they want, because what happens is, this is a garage. And so Mel said something, hold on a second. I can still hear it. Was there another one? There's one on way on the other side of the room there, but I'm going to ignore that for now. All right. So the deal is that I found these on Amazon. I was like, well, I hope they do the trick. And that little critter that used to hang out here and like to get all warm in my ceiling, gone. All right, so this alternate picking bit here, Stanley, this is for you. So again, if we take this A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, and we were to do it in groups of 3 notes. Ascending. And descending. That just gives us a nice vehicle to be able to kind of get just on one string without having to worry about changing strings, which is also important with for building your speed and building your control, but starting off on one string is a great way to go. So this A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, and C. Is a great way to go there. So I'm doing 8th note triplets, or when you get 16th note triplets. Get smoking here. Hold on. Ms. Doppler, I can still hear it. Where is the other one? All right, 2 minutes ago. Okay, good. All right, so in any case, so that's a really great way to build some linear speed. The heart and soul of all of this, though, if we want to capture the sound of the Phrygian mode, what is it that makes it that way? And so one of the things that I want to help people be able to do is to kind of get comfortable with building music using the modes. So if you were to just take an A minor chord and move up a half step and play a B flat major chord, instant Phrygian. It's kind of like just add water, right? You can do a minor bar chord. All right, let's fix this little problem here right now. And that's another way to get there. But the idea is, how do we actually just be able to kind of go, we just want to create the sound of the modes. We can add whatever type of mood we want to. Let's say we want to do some ska, sure. Or maybe a little reggae. Or we just want to create a vibe. One of the things we've talked about before is people have a tendency to feel like, man, when I play these scales, feels like I'm running scales instead of playing melodic things. So the important thing about this, especially why we want to think about, hey, we're playing an A minor chord and a B flat major chord, is the notes are A, C, and E. So over that chord, so if you were to put your third finger at A there at the 7th fret on the 4th string, C there at the 5th fret on the 3rd string, 3rd finger there at D, and slide that up to E there. Say maybe you've got a looper or your DAW, just go. Actually, even better, hang on a second, let me go into my DAW and let me loop just to this. This should allow me to do that. So I'm just outlining that A minor triad, the notes of I'm just outlining different A's, C's, and E's at different locations on the neck. And you can start off here. And then add that B flat. Creates tension. Same thing with that G. Now what I'm doing is I'm kind of outlining. So that's what I want to do there. So I'm outlining that A, C, and E. With the notes below and above it. And again, if you know this is A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, we're outlining that A, C, and E. The note below A is the G. Note above it is B flat. So I'm going G, B flat, A. Same thing with C. So I'm going to be going B flat, D, and C. And then we're doing that. And then we're doing the D, F, and E. D, F, and E! Sounds so dirty. And if you hang out at the B flat for a minute. The idea of like we're using that tension to kind of create tension. And by knowing which notes we're looking for, that A, C, and E, the notes we're using to construct the chord, it gives us an inside vision of kind of which notes we want to target and why. The other thing about this is you can blatantly just kind of take the A minor pentatonic. Oh, sorry, I hit a B instead of a B flat. Two very important concepts. I'm glad I made that mistake. Mistakes are your friend. Sometimes. One of the reasons that I didn't want to stay diatonic to the key of G major, that is to say G major, A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D Mixolydian minor, F sharp, and Locrian and G major, was that you start to play in the same locations. And what's interesting is when you play the Phrygian mode at A, where you spend a lot of time potentially playing the Dorian mode, you will potentially, via muscle memory, start playing the wrong notes, even though you know, oh, I'm supposed to be playing the B flat, that flat too. But we're so used to, those of us that spend a lot of time in A Dorian or A minor, that natural two, that B natural, can be pervasive, and our fingers just start to naturally go there versus that B flat. So that's kind of where we learn to just kind of go, okay, got it. We're in the key of A Phrygian, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C. So we kind of begin to kind of absorb that, you know, and in so doing, we're able to take the knowledge of what we're playing and allow it to kind of soak in, right? So it's not just a fingering. We're going, right, okay, right, that's the B flat. Got it. And in so doing, if we kind of purposely sliding from that B flat to the C, a little bit of tension we get there. And as you might imagine, in a moment, we're going to go up to that B flat chord. So we're going to go up to measure 6. And by the way, this will be available for download, and I will put this in the chat. I so wish I could just put a comment in here. And I'm seeing some comments. Oh, you guys, Doug's road removal tips. Oh, that is priceless. Yes, well, it's not just rodent removal; it's wife removal too. So if you guys are wanting any tips on how to keep the wife out of the studio, I got one for you. All right, hang on a second. Let's see if I can do this. And I know it's going to want to. Oh wait, there we go. I can go ahead and put this in here. Here's the Doug Doppler at Gmail. Sorry, Doug Doppler Music at gmail.com. That is there, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the tube of you in the comments there. There we go. So if you hit me there, good. You can shoot me an email, and I will send you this backing track. So we're now kind of at the second measure, if you will, of this thing, where, first of all, thanks everybody that's tuned in. It's always a pleasure to be able to kind of hang out and do this. I love guitar, and I love being able to hang out with other guitar players and talk about guitar. So now we're kind of next with this little B flat major. And now that B flat that sounded so bad against the A. Now, the interesting thing about all this business, as we kind of put these two chords together, this is what I call a micromodality. That is to say, when we move from that 3 chord to that 4 chord, it's really taking the first third and fifth tones of the Lydian mode. Now, it doesn't mean the progression has shifted from A Phrygian to B flat Lydian there, but what is happening is when we're playing over that B flat chord, it is taking on the quality of the Lydian mode. So I call that micromodalities, which means we do want to be conscious of the fact that that B flat, D, and that F are now the notes we want to be targeting, where a minute ago we wanted to be targeting that A, C, and E. And that does not mean we want to go. Because that's that same scalar approach that we all learn to overcome. So the idea, just like we did before, once again, we're conscious of the fact, all right, well, if we're going to think about the Phrygian modes, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, so where we went G, B flat, A, now we're going to go A, C, B flat. And when we think about this D here, we're going to go C, E, D. And when we think about this F, we're going to go E, G, F. And again, you can hear that natural 7 there. Tension. So if you can do a little slide, or below, above, or below, above, below. Tension. You can also kind of do a, instead of just going the notes on either side. Little legato. So just for piss and giggles, what I'm doing there, first finger's at C. Then I move it up to E. So in that way, where I was targeting that D note right there, that again, B flat, D, and F. It's another way to approach that. And there, what I did was I kind of took that linearly. The cool thing about this, if you kind of take a look at the way these notes line up, kind of, if you will, take the edges, that is to say, this upper note, and I I go and then start off that. And then I start off with that one. You get the ability. Sorry. You can do that linearly, and it's kind of cool. You can also do that. So if you're kind of conscious. Right. Kind of a neat way to do that. I haven't done that before. All right. The idea, though, is what we're trying to do. More important than just saying, all right, we got this B flat D and this F. What we're listening for. That's the sharp 4 of B flat Lydian. Kind of got sloppy there. I hit a little B natural. Gosh, that sounds bad. I hit the. Okay, this again gets back to this thing. Sorry, I started to talk about this before. Muscle memory. I am so used to hitting that B natural because so many of the keys that I play in have got a B natural that my fingers just kind of get used to doing that. And so it's good to just be kind of go, right, that's why I'm hitting the B natural. I know I'm playing a B flat in this key, especially over, I don't know, the B flat chord. It happens. So there's two things happening there. Muscle memory and what I call mental memory. And this is really, I've never heard anybody really talk about this, so I'm excited to kind of go, wow, there's so much, like I like to say, meat on the bone there, because when you kind of begin to go, okay, if I can actually think about more than just like, I don't know, I'm playing a B flat chord, the notes are B flat, D, and F, okay, well then I can begin to think about those notes. And as I kind of, in the same way that, if you will, let's just say I went, build muscle memory around, if you will, string wise, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2. 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2. So there's a mechanic thing that ultimately becomes part of your muscle memory. So the same thing is true of kind of, if you can kind of begin to go, well, what am I doing here? All right, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, 5. And that way you kind of begin to kind of, all right, those. You kind of begin to have a mental, it begins to permeate the instead of just kind of thinking from the fingers, we can begin to kind of get our brain involved, going, right, I'm thinking about the B flat, D, and F. Those are notes of the chord I'm playing. All right, got it. All right, so on and so forth. All right, a moment ago, I started to talk about a very simple way to do this, and I didn't finish that thought. My apologies. You can just go A minor and B flat major, whether you got a looper or you know, maybe, you know, you're someplace where, you know, if you download the track but you don't have it available. Instant Phrygian. The other thing that will happen is you kind of, your brain and your fingers begin to line up. You just will hear the right note to go to, and you know, this gets us to this kind of strange question. Well, how do you know which are the right notes? players like Neil Schon, who are not necessarily, you don't think of them in the same way that maybe you might think of a Pliny, where, they're this very, it sounds much more, where Neil kind of is here, not that Pliny's not. There is a level of musical intensity that's different between the way those two guys approach the instrument. Neil Schon is one of my all-time favorite guitar players, right? But Pliny's also a brilliant musician, but he also comes from this much more technical school, right? So that the ability to kind of navigate, all right, we're going to integrate the things that a technical player will integrate, but we also want to integrate the things that a soulful player will integrate. So it means that our knowledge of what's happening here by ear, how we know which notes are the right notes to go to by ear. A guy like Neil Schon knows to by ear and by touch. A guy like Pliny knows that bit too, but also knows intellectually that that's an A, C, and E, and a B flat, and D, and an F, probably as quickly as he could play the chords. And it's a different experience for Neil. Neither is better. They're just different. I'm just guessing, but you get my point. As an analogy, for many players, one or either of those approaches might be preferable. Neither is better. They're just different. But the point being is, by being able to look from both perspectives, go like, hey, you know what? Just go in and start playing without having to think about it is ultimately where we want to get to. But how do we train our ear to really know which ones are the right notes? We kind of begin to go, all right, A minor, A, C, and E. B flat major, B, D, and F. And by beginning to kind of go, all right, brain, B flat, D, F. Oh, okay, I got that. A, C, E, B flat, D, F. As we begin to, we just kind of know where those notes are because we know where those notes are. All right, so here's the whole little 2-measure sequence. Measure 5 through measure 7 will do it. B flat again. All right, that gets us to another thing, a motif. A motif is kind of an idea that you kind of, sorry. I hit an A flat. What the heck was that? I hit a, I hit an E flat. So basically, I'm kind of doing this. I'll play it up here at this A here. That's A, C, and B flat. And it's kind of not really that dissimilar to what we were doing before. And it's just below, above, and then landing on a middle note. But rather than targeting the notes of a triad, we're just kind of and then trying to find a note to land on. B flat. I saw it coming. All right, so there what I'm basically doing is I'm taking a sequence. I'm going at A there, playing its 5. 1, 5, 1, 4, 5. So B flat, holy cow. This time I'm gonna hit the B flat. And it's just learning to take that. And then I just added a little. Sorry. And then I it just really allows us to open that up. All right, let me just take a little quick moment and jump back into the comments here and see if I missed anything that I, somebody had a question or some sort of thing. Miguel, have a great rehearsal. Thank you so much. Band practice canceled again. Apparently, we weren't playing at any garage near you in a while. Spencer, always a pleasure. How's it going? Oh, there we go. Tom Cuts, all of a sudden my rat pedal is missing. Sorry, a little slow on the uptake. Cheers to you on that. Oh. Hey, if it's vintage, I hope I got it here. I could turn a king snake loose in here. Rodents will be on. I love that. Thank you for that heads up, Chris. I thought, oh, that's so funny. That's great. So Chris, you are just a gem. So yes, I'm going to be creating a weekly list that this stuff goes out on. Kind of one of the reasons that I'm kind of doing these piecemeal with each of the things that I share is it gives me the opportunity to say to people when they request the individual track, I said, hey, zero pressure, but would you be okay with me adding you to the list? That way, it gives me, the opportunity to kind of opt people in personally, which I'm kind of enjoying doing. There is, there's a bunch of things, if I were to be, I'm thinking, as I'm finally back in kind of creating social posts and what I'm doing with those posts, for any of you that saw the Origin Effects compressor video that I did, kind of at the bottom of the post, say, hey, if you want to download the backing track, So what I'm doing is I'm investing my time and my energy in creating demos for manufacturer partners that I've got. But I realize people might want to download the backing track, and it's also a great way for me to create a direct relationship with people that I don't yet know. And in the back of my mind, one of the things that I'm strongly considering doing is setting up a Patreon where I will potentially have a number of these things, which is why I'm collecting them and also getting people used to the idea of playing over them, and then kind of going over this here, on whichever thing we're focusing on musically here. In the moment, I got to jump over to this Making Your Modeler Loud. But the idea is that then there'll be a body of work where, all right, here's this progression. You can download not only my parts, but hey, this is what I'm playing. And then you can download the multi-track, and then you can mute my rhythm guitar, and you can take the same rhythm, and increasingly you'll find that there's going to be bass on there. I'll be like, hey, mute my rhythm guitar. Now you can see how and why I'm approaching playing these things. And in the process, what I'm really trying to do is show people how I use chords. For example, my favorite chord in the world, C major 13 sharp 11, and kind of how I use that chord. To create very clearly that chord can only be played over the 4th degree in a major scale. So that is effectively what I would call a Lydian chord. But basically, is if I do this and play this chord and I hang out at this chord and make it my tonal center. Even if I start from this one. To me, I'm hearing that beat. As B Phrygian. So the point being is walking people through the progressions and using them as a teaching tool and going, this is how I'm using this. Not just kind of like, here's the chords I'm playing, but this is what I'm thinking. And I think it will be a great vehicle. So I'm kind of amassing a collection of little progressions, and then I'll probably go back in and do that. But we're not there yet. All right. That's so funny. I love that, Brenton. So yes, there'll be a master list. Just getting on the snake. I think that's hilarious. Oh, there we go. Brenton, you're a man of many talents. Brett, what's going on? Great to see you. There we go. Travis, what's going on? Holy cow, go to sleep, my dear friend. Great to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Excellent, excellent. Dr. Phil, what's happening? 62 degrees and foggy in Marble Falls. Raise them up. There we go. Cafe Mocha this morning's choice. I love that. All right, there we go. All right, let me just quickly scan through these. That's so funny. What a cute photo. All right, awesome. Okay, good, 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 good. Yes. Oh, okay. Come on. Well, thanks for that encouragement. I love that photo, brother. Hang on. So my version of it is, well, I destroy my guitar. Hi. All right. So you know so Brenton, the whole reason that we kind of did this guy. Thank you, Zach. And again, that muscle memory. So this is where, the great thing about this is when we know it's like, you know what, I really need to be playing that F natural instead of that F sharp. And again, this is one of the things about why I chose to play it at A instead of B, was because I wanted to play it at a place. So like, all right, A Dorian, A Phrygian. And I literally put it over the same rhythm so people can kind of go, okay, I get how to kind of navigate that. All right, Zach, noted. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this whole modeling thing. First of all, Zach, I know you were a dyed-in-the-wool line sixer, which I love. So I've got 3 different conversations going this week. So obviously this is something that's on the boils. How do we actually take our sound and make it, if we're using a modeler, how do we make it so we can hear ourselves? So I did a series of videos for Celestian. So let's see if I can break this down into a mini syllabus articulately in the last 10 minutes of this. And by the way, just kind of like this, kind of like setting the template for what I think is going to become a Patreon thing. There is going to be a video on how to make your modeler loud. There's also obviously going to need to be another video on modeling 101. And my buddy Sean messaged me yesterday. He's got a show coming up and he's like, hey, do you have any tips on how to do this? So as a matter of fact, I'm gonna kind of wrap those 2 in one right now. So let's start off with modeling 101. A couple of things to keep in mind is both for the stage and front of house, do you want a mono signal or do you want a stereo signal? Let's just talk about mono and the benefits thereof. A mono signal more or less means that all the elements in your signal chain will generally be going in mono, and it's just kind of one input and one output. It makes it really easy to navigate. But we're so used to hearing the spread and the beauty of a stereo signal. It is a lovely thing, but it introduces a huge range of complications. That said, mono, start off with your guitar. If you're going to use a compressor, I almost always will put that as the first piece in my signal chain. Generally speaking, I will go into my drive pedals. I have a tendency to like to put my overdrive before my distortion. However, if you were to use the Stevie Ray Vaughan school of music and use your overdrive pedal with less gain and more level boost when you step on it, I might be inclined to flip the order though, so you can take your distortion sound and then be able to use, kind of a, if you will, for me, a melody tone, and then bring a little bit of a solo boost by putting the overdrive after the distortion. If you're using the distortion for your melody tone and you want a little bit of a boost, then you can use your overdrive pedal as a booster. Less gain, maybe a little bit of gain, and maybe you'll take a little bit of the top end off, such that as you gotta go play those long soaring notes at the top of the neck, you're not taking people's heads off. Then I will generally place my modulation pedals after that. That is, say, chorus, kind of any swirly guys that are happening. And then my delay and my reverb. And so that's all running in what's called series. The advantage of choosing when and where you're going to go to stereo introduces a whole range of other complications that are actually also very magical. So the idea is, let's just say you're keeping everything the same. Sorry, time-based effect. I missed one important thing. If I were just using traditional effect going into a traditional amp, and I was using the drive from the pedals, that's how I would do it. If I were using the drive from an amp or augmenting the various channels of an amp with drive pedals, I would do everything up to the drive pedals and the swirly pedals like modulation and whatnot before the front end of the amplifier, and then put the delays and the reverb, generally speaking, in the effects loop of the amplifier. Unless I'm using something like an AC30 where I'm kind of wanting to kind of get all that stuff being pushed into the front end of the amplifier. It's a different strategy. That said, you would do the same thing in the modeling world, because essentially modelers mimic what we do in the analog world. So then you kind of go, okay, well, if I want to start to do stuff in stereo, when and where and why do I want to be able to do that? Generally speaking, all those kind of pedals in the front end, until you get to your modulation, modulation is a great place to be able to split things. Right there is a Boss CE1. It's a Roland. It's a Boss CE1. That was my first modulation pedal. I bought it probably before you were born. 1980 maybe, at Leo's Music. And so basically that's what I would use. I would go in there after the big muff that's right there, and then I would use that to split out between two different amps. And then I would run, and then I would place the Roland Space Echo that's still floating around here somewhere in different places, depending on what. If I was using all the distortion from the pedal, I could put the Space Echo after the Boss pedal. So the deal is, the spatiality is generally where you want to have that width and tone. So in the box, you can do a couple of things. Modulation is a good place to begin to separate things left and right. There are downsides to doing it there. If you listen to chorus on one side, so that pedal is a stereo pedal where one side is pure chorus and the other side is not. One side sounds like this. So somebody on half of the room is going like, I think I'm going to vomit. Can you give me a seasickness bag? And the other people is like, man, he keeps stepping on that chorus, but I can't hear it. And then somebody in the center of the room is like, this is the greatest thing ever. So modulation can be really dangerous about running in stereo if you're doing a true left and right split front of house. Most of us, when we do it, there's my kind of behind that Marshall cabinet, there's my left cabinet, and there's my right cabinet. They're close enough that when you stand in between them, you get the stereo spread. It's not like you get the seasickness thing there. But with the way we hear things is different than the way people hear things front of house. So we have to keep that in mind as we begin to do this. We also want to keep in mind that generally when you sum those to mono, it's not going to probably be a sound that you like. All right, that said, some of the other places that we can create a great stereo vibe, whether it's in the box or out of the box, is by using two different amplifiers. That is to say, I'm running all my stomps, and then I'm kind of doing a split, and I'm running into two different amplifiers, and in turn, they are running into different IRs or virtual cabinets. Chris Alexander had a great question. I actually didn't have to look. I'm getting better. Was like, well, if you're going to do that and you run into a traditional amplifier, do you want to then turn your IRs off? And this is where you then begin to take advantage of the different outputs on the different devices. So that is to say, what's neat about these modeling devices, generally, they allow you to create different pathways that at some point you can choose, kind of go, all right, this output is going to go front of house. I need my IRs there. This output, if I'm going to run it into a traditional guitar combo into the power amp in, and I've got like, some sort of Celestian speaker that I really dig, then I don't necessarily want to have the IR on. Now, I will say there are times that I've run an IR into an actual guitar cabinet. I kind of go, it's not supposed to sound quote unquote good. It sounds great. So sometimes, it just works. But the deal is generally if you're going to run out of your modeler, run into the power amp in of fill in the blank amplifier, I would not turn off power amp modeling inside your modeler, although you can experiment with doing that. I'll keep it on. So long as you're not playing at crazy volume, your power amp is not going to add that much color. Experiment to taste. And in turn, that stock speaker that's in there, that's where you probably want to turn off your IRs, but try turning them on and off and see what you like. The point being is that gives you the ability to have some stage volume. Generally speaking, most amplifiers, when you run into the power amp in only, you've bypassed the master volume. So be aware that you are now on 10. So you're going to probably want to have some way of managing that, maybe with a volume control or some sort of a volume pedal or some sort of management on a preset level where if you've got separate outs going front of house and going there, you know to keep that level much lower going to that amp based on what you do with that. There are some other vehicles that you can do to place, some sort of volume control in the loop. What a great tool. Hang on a second. Is it here? One of the videos I'm going to be making, and I'm obviously going to run a little bit over the hour, but well worth it. Hang on, sorry. I'm looking for my... Nope, I'm not going to find it. Well, Daniel at the Gig Rig, as in that pedal show, Daniel, this is one of his boxes. There's a more recent version of this. But this is basically allows you to run just wet effects into your loop. But he's also made a box that I'm going to be incorporating into my rig that you can run in the effects loop. And basically there's two volume controls for two different settings, technically three, one where you've bypassed the unit and the other where one can be a boost and the other can be a cut. But what's neat about this is that you could place that after your modeler and on the way back into the loop, and now you've got a volume control to add there. I have to remember to mention that to Daniel. So that is a great way to be able to control that volume just from the stage. I don't think you can control that with an expression pedal, but you can with a foot switch jump between those two different volumes if for whatever reason you needed to. All right, so that setup, if you wanted to come out in stereo, you'd have two amps that you would do that with, right? One of the other things is these Marshall cabinets and these Boogie cabinets. I customized those Boogie cabinets and put custom jacks on the back so they can run in stereo. Line 6 power cab. Great solution. The Power Cab 212 Plus can run in stereo. The Power Cab 112 Plus, it's 112. It's mono, so you can use two of those. I have a pair of the 112 Pluses because I'm a stereo fanatic, and I have one of the 212 Pluses. Now, you can use one amp and a stereo cabinet to get your split. And the stereo cabinet, sometimes you'll use either maybe two different cabinets or two different speakers or whatever it is that you're going to do. And that's another place to split it, or use two different amps. Or run that and then use a stereo delay, and that's where you get your separation. I will invariably need to create some presets demonstrating this is what this sounds like. And then I've got to figure out how I'm going to navigate, probably creating those presets on a very simple version of a Helix preset, a very simple version of a Quad Cortex preset, and a very simple version of a Helix Quad Cortex GT1000 and FM. Find create it for the FM3 and 9 and Axe-Fx 3 and do it so they can be shared between them. And the idea is it let people then use those as templates, and give people some ability to do that. That way you've got something to work off of. In any case, the ability to get your modeling rig loud live, I really love the Celestion speakers. What was neat about them, over there you will see, well, hang on, over here, I'll bring it. This is the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 200. Over there in that, no, I'm never going to get, no, there. That's a Power Stage 170. And that rack, as you can see hiding back there, I have a second one because part of one of my rigs is going to be, you've heard me talking about this, using these stereo cabinets. It's the center speakers are the dry, and then on the outside, those are the wets. So I've got one of those power amps in each one. But you could also just use this new stereo guy, which means you only need one instance. And then down here in this, no, down there in Big Boy over there, you can't see it, the big rack, I've got the Power Stage 700, 350 watts per side when you really need to be heard. But the point being is this is a stereo power amp. This is relatively new. And it also has some EQ that you can bypass both for what's happening at the unit, and then also it's got some speaker sim. And so it's actually a very sophisticated piece of gear, and the Seymour Duncan folks have done a great job with these units. So let's say, for example, you want to use a traditional guitar amplifier, go into the loop, use the actual speakers. Well, that's the place where on the DI out, let me just be 100% positive that I can select the speaker out. There we go. Just one sec. Balanced output, cab. Yeah, there you go. So you have the ability to turn the cab sim on or off for the balanced outs. Yo, there you go. Come on. Such that you could run into a traditional guitar amplifier and use the speaker there and not use an IR in your modeler, but use a cab sim that's built in here that would probably be just fine for front of house. It does not give you the ability to add your own IRs, which is a little bit of a bummer. I wish they did, but these units sound great. I'm very happy with them. All right, so it's 11:05. Let me just jump back in and make sure if there are any questions. Jay Kirkland, great to see you, my friend. Just joining in. Artie, what's happening? Hats off from Schiller Park. Hello. Cheers to Schiller Park. Hello, hello. Okay, let's see here. Good. Stereo can be confusing. Brett, here's the thing is that, Spencer, I have Power Cab 112. I typically use that with my Kemper. Thank you very much. Mono setup. Can tuner true bypass go before compressor? Where would fuzz go before compressor or after? Great question. So great question because fuzz pedals hate buffers. And your average Boss tuner, which is probably the most common pedal board tuner in the world, has a buffer in it. Which actually, it's got a good buffer in it. I've seen a couple videos about it. I think I saw one that Mason from Vertex did on that. And I saw one I think Pete Thorne did on that. I still have to get up to speed a little bit on buffers. I am in the process of, one is, first of all, I love being able to say, when I don't know, I like saying I don't know because it first of all means that, like you, there are things that I'm learning and I don't pretend to know all the things that I should know. This is a Mesa Boogie switch track, and this has a buffer in it, and it has dual buffers for the outputs. And the advantage of this, guys, it will allow me to run multiple amplifiers and switch between them, but be able to do it via MIDI. And there's a new box that I ordered this morning, the MIDI Matrix, that's going to enable me to connect to both the Fillmore 50 that's back there and a new amp that's on its way to me. It's called the Rocket 440, and it's basically Mesa Boogie's take on a super reverb, and I cannot wait to get this amp. But the point being is they've got various, different boogies have different types of DIN and quarter-inch connectors. So getting a rig to be able to do all of this stuff. And then the reason, getting back to this box, the buffers, this thing is potentially got a nice long cable running from the edge of the stage, where you potentially would use it, to the back line. So the ability to use a buffer means that length of cable that creates an impedance, it loads down your signal, so potentially it means you're going to lose some high end, some clarity. The reality is, there we go. Come on. Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. There we go. Come on. So all that to say, The buffer before your fuzzes generally freak out when they hear a buffer. They don't like it, so you want to place it before your tuner. Um, and tuning with a fuzz pedal on could be an interesting endeavor. One of the other things is that I'm going to be sending this over to my buddy Gary Brower. Hang on a second. Can I find it? Can I find it? It is a Rocktron pedal, and I don't know if they still make it. All right, it's hiding. But it's a little mini loop pedal, and it just sits on your pedal board. But sometimes there are some pedals that you just don't want in line all the time, so you can just kind of have them. You know, for example, maybe you don't want your wah-wah and your fuzz in line, so you can put those in one of these little mini, creates a little mini quote-unquote effect loop for your pedal board, and you can turn your fuzz or your wah-wah, have it on and ready to go, and you step on that button, and you know instant fuzz or wah or whatever you want. But then when you turn it off, it's out of line. So the deal is that you would still want to place your tuner after that bit of business, but it allows you to kind of begin to manage this stuff. Again, these are all little gear tweaks. One of the things I'm going to be doing is Tuesday Tech Tips. You'll probably see one this week. In fact, I'll tell you in advance. And we're almost 10 minutes over, but that's okay. Where one of the things I traditionally do, there we go, is I will take my cables on runs and I will run them through. Actually, usually I have a twisty going on. There we go. I'll run it through the handle of whatever, such that if I happen to have this cable and I trip on it, instead of pulling the amp off of whatever it's on or breaking the jack at the amp, it doesn't do that. And so that's probably going to be the first one of these. So every Tuesday I'm going to do Tuesday Tech Tips. Actually, that may be the second one. The first one I think is going to be about when you're using a strap, always run your cable through your strap, especially if you've got a right angle jack like this. I take that back. I may put the cable management in the same one and make the first one kind of a bonus one. But the point being is that these sorts of tips, like put a fuzz before your buffer, and probably I've got a loop device from the good folks, PBC6X from RJM, and it allows you to reorder your loops on the fly by presets. So I'll let you hear what a buffer going into a fuzz and a fuzz going into a buffer, what the difference sounds like literally with the push of a button. And so, little tech hints like that. But that's a great question. So getting back to that, you want to run your tuner in line. So here's the other thing I would actually strongly suggest if you can do it. I will do anything to save real estate on my pedal board. So I would, sorry to all my friends at Boss, not use a tuner on my pedal board. I live by these TC Electronic little headstock tuners. They are the best. Steve Vai uses them. And you put it, and I learned this from Thomas's tech, you can put it on the front and it sticks up here like this and you can read it like that. I don't really like the way it looks on the headstock, but what you can do is put it backwards so it has less of a footprint and just kind of hide it there and then open up so it opens up on the back like this, and it faces you, and there you go. Come on, where's the green? Where's the green part? There we go. So it faces you. You can see it really easily, and it's not quite as obvious, to those out there in the audience. You still see it a little bit. But the thing is I'd much rather be in tune, and there we go. I've kind of hidden it a little bit up there. I kind of hate the look, but the ability to just not have, just turn my volume down and be able to just tune like that, it's just great. It also means that, when I pull my guitar out of the case, I'm always a little bit careful because, a Gibson has a back set headstock. I'm always a little bit careful about where this guy goes just to make sure I'm not going to create any problems in the case. That is to say, let's just say someplace where the guitar was very close to the bottom of the case. If I put some other thing that potentially elevates the guitar, that means if the guitar gets dropped in the case, it'll potentially break the headstock, right? Not a good thing, especially on the way from to the gig, right? All right, Stefano, great to see you, my friend. All right. Yes, Brett. I absolutely live in and hopefully not die by these, but they're great and I love them. Spencer, I love that. So this is an interesting thing, the wireless thing. And then then I do need to jump. First of all, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out and spending your Saturday with me. This last little part was a little woo, but I also, there's a lot of meat on the bone here. So the neat thing is that I want to at least address this because I had a couple of people reach out and ask about it. But the whole wireless thing, a very famous guitar player buddy of mine is experimenting with going wireless. I am currently cabled, and I really love working with a cable. I would say one of the big impetuses that this guitar player is potentially going wireless is I think this year probably going to. He's already plays really big stages, but doesn't need to play stadium stages. And I think probably one of the things that's going to happen in the latter part of this year, without mentioning any names, they're probably going to be playing stadium stages because of the tour that they've got going. Who could I be talking about? So, they've been experimenting with wireless and wireless and Sustainiac. So there's all this stuff hanging out back here. And I don't mean duct tape. I hate my tone wireless, especially distorted. I would not leave a tuner on my headstock. In my case, I've seen more than one case of tuner affecting the finish on the headstock. So, the funny thing is, this guitar, we put this tape on here just to hold the back plate on here because at some point we'll actually drill a proper plate for it. This guitar, not that I would purposely do anything to deface it. This guitar is like 2 years old, and it is severely played. And Tom, you're completely right. I actually have a couple instruments where I've noticed that this one, it may be the case. You can actually see they do have a tendency to leave a little bit of a mark on there. But generally my guitars for me, and so it's an excellent point, and I will keep that in mind. And that's a great Tuesday tech tip, by the way. Thank you for that. My guitars, they get played, and they don't get played hard, but they get played. And I am not, that's kind of generally a non-issue for me. Every so often I've got some loaner guitars in the house that I am conscious of that. So that's really good. Artie, can't say. But the tour that I was talking about was not that tour. We'll leave it there. So, the Line 6 stuff is really good. Steve, I was using the Line 6 stuff for a while. The thing is the Sustainiac and wireless don't always play friendly together. So, the point being is that I was also on stage with a buddy of mine, whose name I won't mention, and his wireless just crapped out in the middle of the set. And I'm like, that, I always carry extra cables. By the way, that's another tech tip. This cable acted up last week. So I put some blue tape on that just because I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. And I probably shouldn't have used it today. But I'm not absolutely sure that it was this cable, but I was pretty sure it was, so I immediately labeled it so I know which one it is. One of the other things I'll do, if I ever have some longer cable, so in fact, what I did before I put the tape on it is I will put a knot tight, but I'll put a knot in the cable so I know which one it is. Because, as much as I do kind of the twisty thing, as I wind my cables, they never end up truly knotted. So when I see it, I'm like, oh, that is the suspect cable. Again, these are things that, because I'm kind of like self-managed in every facet of what I do in this current moment, kind of have to be on top of, like, if something's in the process of breaking or going out, I have to manage it. In a wireless, for me right now, it's a liability that I don't play big enough venues where it's a consideration. I did an interview with James from Metallica's tech, Chad, and he shared some photos of the sizes of the stage, and it's like literally you're like, hey, you over there, and in a stadium tour, you have to be wireless to work that stage in that kind of a venue. You've got to go wireless. There's no choice about it. But getting the Sustainiac to not interfere with the wireless is a bit of an issue. So in any case, great to see you. Hang on a second. I have well, and that's the thing. This is. Generally speaking, the Line 6 folks have done a really good job, as have the Audio-Technica folks and the Shure folks, of being able to make sure that everybody gets their own independent channel. But you generally want to have everybody in the band on the same wireless so that way everybody gets allotted a channel. Because one of the things that I don't know, operative word I don't know, is how the wireless do when you got one person on Shure and one person on Audio-Technica and one person on Line 6. Whether they know to look for each other and grab frequencies. So the point being is, watching my buddy next to me have his wireless go out kind of in the middle of the show, I'm just like, I don't think I want to do that. It's a great thing. I love being wireless, and this past week I started getting the last I got the last vocal tracks from my buddy Caleb and this great guy Jake that he's working with, cutting some of the extra overdubs for the album. And as Caleb and I begin to think about going out and playing live, at some point probably we will need to have to figure out how to play in venues large enough that I'm going to have to be moving to wireless. Great problem to have. Not a problem I currently have. Would I go for Shure, Line 6, Audio-Technica, Sonics L something or other? Whose wireless I'm going to go for? Really good question. I will probably reach out. Thankfully, I've gotten to know Maddie, John Petrucci's tech, John Zacco, who is Phil from Def Leppard's tech. I've gotten to know the techs from Metallica. So I can reach out to a bunch of people and go, which wireless do you like and why? And I'll leave it there. All right. There we go. So, and that is specifically the drama. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, great to hang out. So the general rule, the show's an hour, but I'm not a time sphincter. So if we kind of go a little bit over, I think it's great. I really appreciate you spending your Saturday with me. I am a guitar fanatic. On Fridays, I hang out with Mason from Vertex. I don't do it every Friday, but we have this breakfast. So yesterday was a bunch of Bay Area guitar fanatics hanging out, talking about gear and amps and speakers and all this stuff. So it's what I love to do, but to be able to do that with you and get a chance to share some guitar stuff is really an incredible privilege. And it's also part of my social expression. So, it means a lot. So thank you. And it's fun. It's going to be the vocal tracks that I got back this week are so awesome. And, I'm kind of back in the studio working on finishing records. So really appreciate it. Adrian Tackman, how you doing? Great to see you, my friend. Oh, wait, where's my volume there? Get that note. There we go. All right, awesome. Devon, great to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Awesome. Everybody. Oh, there we go. Come on. All right, you guys, thanks so much. Have a great one. I look forward to seeing you next Saturday. Thanks again for all the inspiration and all the great hang.